Investments we all recognise as an important part of an overall property or an overall portfolio strategy. But investments can seem quite scary, particularly if you're sort of that under 30-year-old starting off in your career and wondering what it's going to look like. The first house always becomes important, and I'm not discounting that for a moment. But the secret about investing into shares is longevity. The sooner you get in, the longer you're in, the more that you'll make. But often there's this thought, I've got to have a pot of gold to go off and invest. And the simple answer to that is, no you don't. Regular contributions can give you the same outcome. It's just how you do that regular contribution. We all know about KiwiSaver. It's a simple one that gets deducted out of our wage packet and our employer contributes to it. But there are other ways we can do direct investments as well. One example of that is these online forums like Sharesies, where you can put a certain amount, $5 a week or a certain amount into it, and you can buy a very, very small component of an overall share. So for example, you might have Apple, a name we all recognise and know. When I was growing up, I thought it was actually an orchard company, but apparently it's a technology company. And with Apple, its shares have never split, so they have enormous value attached to them. So the idea of buying a share in Apple at this point in time can be quite daunting. It may be, I haven't looked at it for a while, but if it's $1,000 to buy one share, you almost think, what's the point? So you've got the companies like Sharesies, where you might sort of put $5 a week into it, and that $5 buys you a very small component of the overall Apple. But over time, if you keep investing that grows and grows and grows until you've taken a bite out of the apple. Now, of course, the other alternative is that you could turn around and say, right, well, I'll contribute a regular amount, say $200 a month. Now, you can do that through a couple of different forums. There are some online forums that allow you to invest in them, and effectively when you get to a certain value of money, you can go again and choose shares in which to take chunks out of. And you may, for example, have $2,000 saved up over the course of a year and decide that you're going to go and buy Tesla shares. Now, Tesla shares are quite valuable at the moment. They're looking at doing a share split. And through the process of doing that, you may say, I can't have enough to invest in anything direct with that, but I can take my $2,000 and again, buy a small component of that share. Following the same theme, doing that, you get to the end of 12 months, you've got $2,400 saved up, you can then go and buy another chunk of the apple. The alternative as well is to actually put money into your own personal savings account, and then once a year you may be able to go and either talk to a broker and say to them, I've got $2,000 to $3,000, what can I invest in? And the reason why they become important is because the smaller components can be spread across different funds. So you may have, for example, a technology fund that is able and available to be bought by through listed stocks, like for example New Zealand Stock Exchange, that then has a spread across the whole lot. Or alternatively, you can buy what's called index funds. Those index funds cover across a range of companies that sit within that index. Now, the difference between buying, say, an index fund on the stock exchange versus putting your money further into KiwiSaver is the liquidity. Now, KiwiSaver is what we consider an illiquid investment, i.e. you can only pull it out under financial hardship, first home, or when you reach the age of retirement, which is currently 65. Those are the three reasons you can. So if you had put in $2,000 or $2,500 a year, over a 10-year period, just on the base core investment, you'd have $25,000 sitting in that account or in those shares. If it was in your KiwiSaver, you wouldn't be able to pull it out. However, if you wanted to go and buy a car, for example, you wouldn't be able to pull it out either because that's not financial hardship. But you could cash up your index funds in order to purchase the car for $25,000. So a portfolio of investments should be considered in addition to or complementary to KiwiSaver. KiwiSaver is your baseline. It just ticks over, and as you're starting off in your career, your income is usually lower and it grows. So too does your contribution into the KiwiSaver. This is a more direct investment that can be made. But the point I'm trying to get to is don't be afraid to take the small bites at the apple. No one is expecting you to have half an orchard before you start buying apple. There's just an ability to start nibbling away at the corners. So dip your toe in, make sure you know what you're going into, and then slowly build your portfolio from there. And by all accounts, take advice, because the secret to any good investment is knowing what you're buying into. If you don't understand it, you most probably never know if they're pulling the wool over your eyes.